At the start of the month, I stumbled upon this fascinating video by Car PCs.
An iMac, or using Circle to search on your Samsung phone, you're actually just using Google. Everything is Google. Like, you can click on the Safari browser, but the search engine that's actually running Safari is Google.
And it made me realize, Apple claims to be an independent company with an ecosystem its loyal customers love to use, but here's the twist. Google pays it around $10 to $15 billion a year to make Google Search the default search engine in Apple's walled garden. Behind the scenes, Google pays an annual fee to maintain its internet monopoly, avoiding direct competition with Apple, which has the power to disrupt its chokehold on the market, and rendering Safari as essentially another interface to use their products. In this video, you'll discover why Apple allows this and why it got both companies in some legal trouble with the Department of Justice. In the world of tech, ecosystems aren't just the devices that make them up, but the strategy big companies use to lock you into their products. These so-called walled gardens look beautiful on the inside, but those high walls make it difficult or inconvenient to get out. No one has mastered the art of building walled gardens more than Apple, who crafted theirs by creating a world where all its devices and software work seamlessly with each other to create a pleasing experience for loyal customers, but an unpleasant one for those looking to experience other ecosystems. Your iPhone, MacBook, iPad, and Apple Watch all work together perfectly, and you can't notice the flaws unless you look really closely, although the price should always be the first red flag. Google's ecosystem is massive. It spans from Android with just shy of 4 billion users, and YouTube with 2.5 billion, to Google Workspace with over 3 billion, and Google Cloud with nearly 1 million, most of them being major companies however, and of course, Chrome with 3.5 billion users. These figures added surpass the human population by a wide margin, but let's look at Apple's portfolio. The company directly benefits from having lots of loyal customers, especially in major North American and European nations, and has sold over $2 trillion worth of iPhones, its flagship product, since 2007. Looking just at the softer side of their garden, we have iCloud with 850 million users, Apple Music with over 93 million, Apple TV with 45 million, Safari with 1 billion, although it serves as a way to use Google Search, and its various operating systems, ranging from iOS and macOS to tvOS and visionOS, with a combined total of 1 billion users. It's not as impressive as Google's, but that doesn't consider the hardware segment and insane prices, which lead to greater revenue. These ecosystems are built on hardware that we purchase and then lock us in with super connected software, most of which you pay for or is weaved into everyday life to retain users. Goldman Sachs estimates that payments made by Google to Apple make up around 20% of Apple services revenue, and in 2018 these payments came near a whopping $10 billion in the form of traffic acquisition cost. They represented a third of Apple's services revenue for that year. This stream is also predicted to be slowing down, and Apple may have to sustain it with a bundle offering, such as an Apple Prime of products. These acquisition costs made up 51% of the Apple services revenue and 70% of the company's gross income. Even the UK CMA, Competition and Markets Authority, raised concerns over a secretive revenue sharing agreement between the two. Beyond payments for making Google Search the default engine on Safari, both companies also split earnings made from searches made through Chrome on the iOS. The CMA also notes that Google paid Apple a sum of £1 to £1.5 billion to keep Google Search in its status as the default, even more than it pays Samsung, which makes sense considering Apple's platforms have more users overall. This fact adds to the idea that Google sees Apple as the only competitor with the power to challenge their monopoly. I mean, Apple does have its own browser engine, WebKit. Apple could potentially lose up to as much as $12.5 billion, about 15% of its earnings per share, in a lawsuit like the DOJ in an antitrust case against Google. The case accuses Google of maintaining its search monopoly by paying billions to competitors, and while Apple isn't a defendant in the case, its lucrative deal with Google will be gone, and so would a third of its services revenue coming from those traffic acquisition costs, worth $15 to $20 million annually. That's how much it costs for Google to stay relevant. This would effectively force them to create an alternative to Google's monopoly and their software ecosystem into something truly independent, and not a wrapper for someone else's product, like it did with Apple Intelligence and ChatGPT. Apple markets itself as an independent and private company. Google presents itself as an open company, and While you do see its browser everywhere, just know that billions are being paid behind the scenes to finance its dominance. Apple could realistically compete, but this lucrative deal between the two makes a good chunk of their annual revenue. So why fight at it if you don't have to? For the most part, customers can take pride in the fact that their ecosystem can still more or less be compared to Google's. But just so you know, Safari is Apple's speed for Chrome, at least for now. The end. Safari is just a wrapper for Google search, and it's the product of the symbiotic relationship between two competitors, because Google annually funds this by paying Apple, and Apple gladly accepts those payments. They are quite large. This could come to an end because of the antitrust lawsuit Google is currently in. But for now, just know all of Apple's ecosystem, with this, are truly original. Except for maybe Apple Intelligence, of course, but that's a topic for another day. Now that you know it's been Google all along, click on this video for my thoughts on GPT-5.